Welcome to Dolphin Dive Daily, your go-to spot for everything Miami Dolphins. If you bleed aqua and orange, hit that subscribe button and join the pod. The whispers had already begun before the final whistle blew in Charlotte. As the Miami Dolphins walked off the field after squandering a 17-point lead to the Carolina Panthers, the cameras caught Mike McDaniel trudging toward the tunnel, head low, face expressionless, looking every bit like a man carrying the weight of a franchise on his shoulders. The loss dropped Miami to 1-4, and almost immediately, the noise surrounding his job security grew louder. Talk shows lit up with speculation. Social media churned out hot takes. Even the most loyal Dolphins fans couldn't help but wonder if the innovative, quirky head coach who once seemed destined to lead Miami into a new era was running out of time. But then came a twist, one that might change the entire narrative. According to a new report from ESPN's Adam Schefter, the situation might not be as dire as everyone assumes. Appearing on the Pat McAfee show, Schefter dropped a piece of information that stopped many fans mid-scroll. The Dolphins are not, at least for now, anywhere close to making a coaching change. He acknowledged the obvious. The season has been a disappointment, and expectations were sky-high, but emphasized something that fans rarely hear in the NFL's reactionary culture: patience. Ownership, Schefter explained, wants to take a measured approach. They're not panicking. They're not ready to hit the reset button just yet. And that's a significant revelation in a league where one bad stretch can erase years of progress in a heartbeat. It's easy to understand why many thought McDaniel was on thin ice. This isn't a franchise known for stability. Since the turn of the millennium, Miami has gone through a carousel of head coaches: Nick Saban, Cam Cameron, Tony Sparano, Joe Philbin, Adam Gase, Brian Flores, all trying and failing to recapture the magic of the Don Shula era. When McDaniel arrived, he brought with him a different energy. He was cerebral, self-aware, funny, and deeply respected as an offensive mind. He didn't look or sound like a typical NFL coach, but his approach resonated with players. The Dolphins' offense became explosive, dynamic, even fun to watch. Yet football is cruel. When the wins stop, the charm wears thin. And after 4 seasons hovering around mediocrity, fans have begun to lose patience, even if ownership hasn't. Let's not sugarcoat it. The 2025 season has been rough. Miami entered with playoff aspirations and a roster built to compete, but instead of ascending, they've regressed. Injuries have piled up, execution has faltered, and the defense, despite off-season investments, hasn't held up when it matters most. The latest collapse against Carolina wasn't just another loss. It felt symbolic, the kind of defeat that forces everyone in the building to look in the mirror. When you blow a 17-point lead to one of the league's weakest teams, questions are inevitable. Players looked dejected, fans were furious, and McDaniel's expression said everything: frustration, exhaustion, maybe even doubt. Yet, the thing about McDaniel is that he's always been resilient. His journey to becoming an NFL head coach wasn't traditional. He was a Yale graduate who started as an intern and grinded through nearly 2 decades in assistant roles before getting his shot. His offensive creativity helped shape the modern San Francisco 49ers attack, and when Miami hired him, they believed they were getting one of the brightest minds in the sport. For a time, it looked like they were right. The Dolphins played fast, fearless football. Tua Tagovailoa looked reborn. Tyreek Hill became a human highlight reel. But the NFL evolves quickly, and the rest of the league seems to have caught up to McDaniel's schemes. Defenses are pressing receivers, disguising coverages, and forcing Miami into uncomfortable situations. The question now is whether McDaniel can adapt, or whether he's stuck trying to recreate a formula that opponents have already figured out. Ownership, led by Stephen Ross, appears to be giving him that chance. According to the report, there were 2 hypothetical scenarios that might lead to McDaniel's dismissal, and neither has come to pass. Ross, known for his willingness to spend and his impatience in the past, seems to be showing restraint this time. Perhaps it's because he understands that constant turnover is part of the reason Miami can't sustain success. Or perhaps it's because he still believes McDaniel is the right man to develop this roster. Whatever the reason, the message from the top is clear: no immediate changes. And in a league defined by knee-jerk decisions, that's rare. Still, even if McDaniel isn't in immediate danger, the road ahead is treacherous. Miami's schedule doesn't get easier, and public perception can shift overnight. Another couple of losses, and patience might run out quickly. The locker room, too, is a delicate ecosystem. Players sense when their coach's job is on the line, and it can either galvanize a team or fracture it. McDaniel's challenge now is to keep his players believing, not just in him, but in the system. When you start losing faith in either, that's when teams truly fall apart. What's interesting is how McDaniel's story contrasts with other coaches in similar positions. Around the league, head coaches are constantly being scrutinized. Some survive losing seasons because of deep organizational trust, while others get the axe even after moderate success. The difference often lies in relationships, with ownership, with the quarterback, and with the locker room. McDaniel's relationship with Tua has always been one of his strongest assets. The two have built a bond rooted in trust and mutual respect. McDaniel was the first coach to truly empower Tua, to believe in him when many doubted. That connection may very well be part of what's keeping McDaniel in Miami for now. But as any coach knows, good relationships only go so far without wins. The numbers don't lie. McDaniel's overall record sits at 29-27. Respectable, but not impressive. It's the definition of average, and in today's NFL, average doesn't cut it. Missing the playoffs for a second straight year would be difficult to justify, no matter how innovative or well-liked a coach may be. Fans remember the excitement of McDaniel's arrival and the promise of a new era. They were told this was the man who would finally bring consistency, creativity, and competitiveness back to South Beach. But 4 years later, the team feels stuck in neutral. That's why the conversation around his job won't disappear anytime soon. There's also the broader context of the AFC to consider. The conference is brutal. Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, and a rising generation of young quarterbacks make the margin for error razor thin. Miami isn't just trying to compete. They're trying to survive in a conference where 10 wins might not even guarantee a playoff berth. Against that backdrop, it's understandable that fans are restless. They see other teams evolving, adapting, winning. Meanwhile, the Dolphins seem perpetually on the verge of something great, but never quite crossing the threshold. That, almost there, feeling can be maddening. Still, despite all the frustration, there's an undeniable sense that McDaniel's story with Miami isn't finished yet. He remains one of the most unique personalities in the sport, a coach who quotes philosophers in press conferences, who embraces analytics, who genuinely seems to care about his players as people. That kind of authenticity matters, even when the scoreboard doesn't cooperate. And if ownership is truly committed to patience, McDaniel might have the time he needs to recalibrate. He's shown before that he can design an offense that catches the league by surprise. Maybe, with the pressure mounting, he can do it again. The NFL is a narrative machine, and right now, the Mike McDaniel story is at a crossroads. Will it be the tale of a brilliant mind undone by expectations, or the comeback arc of a coach who stared down adversity and found a way to win again? Only the next few months will tell. What's certain is that every game, every snap, every decision will be magnified. For McDaniel, this isn't just about saving his job. It's about proving that his vision still works, that his methods still resonate, and that he can lead a talented but inconsistent team back to relevance. So, for now, the seat isn't as hot as the headlines might suggest. According to Adam Schefter, ownership is standing firm, choosing steadiness over chaos. But in Miami, where sun, pressure, and expectations always run high, that calm can evaporate in an instant. One more blown lead, one more Sunday like the one in Carolina, and patience might give way to panic. That's the reality of life in the NFL, a world where loyalty is conditional, and the line between visionary and scapegoat is as thin as a missed tackle. Mike McDaniel knows that better than anyone. And as he steps back into the facility this week, facing questions from media, fans, and maybe even his own players, he'll have to do what he's always done: find answers, fast. Because in this league, even when your job is safe today, tomorrow is never guaranteed. Still with us? Then show some love. Hit that like button and let us know in the comments. What's your take on the Fins this week? You won't believe what's happening in the NFL right now, because this is something that we almost never see, and when it happens, it shakes the entire league from top to bottom. The story I'm about to tell you feels unreal, almost like a movie, but it's real enough that both fans and insiders are losing their minds online. The NFL has officially confirmed that it's canceling the recent game between the Miami Dolphins and the New York Jets, citing serious irregularities. Yeah, you heard that right. The league is pulling the plug on a game that already happened, a game that's been broadcast, analyzed, and debated for days. And now, out of nowhere, they're saying it doesn't count. The scoreboard, the stats, the result, gone. Wiped off the books. Now, before you think this is just some random administrative mix-up, let me tell you, this isn't about weather delays, it's not about a power outage, and it's definitely not about a simple mistake in the scorekeeping. What's coming out from people close to the situation suggests that something much bigger was going on behind the scenes, something that could rewrite how the league handles game integrity from now on. Insiders are whispering about irregularities that compromise the fairness of the competition, whatever that means. And that's the phrase that keeps coming up in every statement. Compromised fairness. It's vague, but it's heavy. It's the kind of wording the NFL uses only when something serious is brewing. Fans who watched the game live already felt something was off. From the very beginning, the Jets looked unusually disorganized, like they weren't even playing from the same playbook, while the Dolphins executed with near-perfect precision. Some analysts called it a clinic, others said it was too perfect. But then, as the hours went by, strange reports started circulating. There were talks of communication interference, headset malfunctions, and even suspicions of unauthorized access to team communications. Nothing was confirmed, but the chatter got louder as the week went on. And then today, boom, the league comes out and says the entire match is being nullified. If you've followed the NFL long enough, you know how massive this is. The league almost never invalidates a game that's already been played. We've seen penalties, fines, suspensions, even point deductions in college football, but canceling a finished game? That's unheard of. People are already comparing this to the Deflategate saga and even to the Bountygate scandal from years back. But what's making this story explode is the mystery. No one knows exactly what these grave irregularities are. The official statement from the league was short, almost too short, and that only added fuel to the fire. It said the game between the Dolphins and Jets, originally recorded as a Dolphins win, was being canceled due to significant breaches of operational integrity discovered during post-game review. That's it. No details, no explanations, just a cold, corporate statement, and chaos everywhere else. Now, let's talk about the timing, because this is where things start getting even weirder. The game in question was supposed to be one of the highlights of the week. Division rivals, playoff implications, a packed stadium, and millions of viewers. Everything about it screamed primetime drama. But if you go back and look at the footage, and fans are doing exactly that right now, there are moments that suddenly look suspicious in hindsight. A Jets drive killed by what looked like a miscommunication at the line. A Dolphins defensive read that seemed almost psychic. A series of plays that just don't add up anymore once you start wondering if someone, somewhere, had access to information they shouldn't have. Now, I'm not saying anyone cheated, at least, not yet, but the buzz online is that the NFL's investigation found patterns consistent with signal interference. There are even unconfirmed claims that someone inside one of the teams tipped off the league after noticing inconsistencies in how certain plays were being predicted. Some people are whispering about encrypted communications being compromised. Others are speculating that there were equipment irregularities, maybe tampered headsets, maybe unauthorized frequencies. We don't know for sure, and the league isn't talking. But whatever it is, it was big enough to make the NFL take the nuclear option, erase the game from existence. The reactions have been explosive. Dolphins fans are furious, saying their team dominated fair and square and deserves to keep the win. Jets fans, on the other hand, feel vindicated, like maybe the weirdness they saw on the field had an explanation after all. Social media is a war zone right now, with hashtags like #NFLScandal, #DolphinsJetsGate, and even #GameErased trending across platforms. Players from both sides have been told not to comment publicly, but a few have liked and unliked cryptic posts online, which only adds to the tension. And get this, apparently, several sportsbooks have frozen bets related to that game. That's how serious this has become. Once the betting markets start locking things down, you know something big is going on. And here's another twist. According to a few anonymous sources, again, Nothing confirmed yet. The issue may not have originated from the teams themselves, but from external interference. That phrase has been popping up in a few insider leaks, suggesting the possibility that someone outside the NFL system could have accessed team communications. If that's true, then we're talking about a scandal that goes way beyond football. This could turn into a cybersecurity nightmare, an FBI-level situation. Think about it. The NFL, one of the richest and most technologically advanced sports leagues in the world, being compromised by an outsider? That's the kind of storyline you expect from a Netflix documentary, not real life. Meanwhile, the league office is in full crisis mode. Reports say Commissioner Roger Goodell has held emergency meetings with both organizations, and even with the league's broadcast partners, who are demanding answers. There's also talk of the league's integrity unit working around the clock, analyzing communications logs, audio frequencies, and video footage frame by frame. It sounds intense, like they're trying to find the smoking gun before the public outrage gets completely out of control. And honestly, it might already be too late for that. Fans want transparency, but the NFL has a long history of being, let's say, selective with its honesty when it comes to scandals. Now, let's take a step back and think about the bigger picture. If the league really found something that compromised the fairness of a game, then canceling it might have been the only move. But this opens up a huge can of worms. What happens to the players' stats? What about fantasy leagues? What about the playoff standings? And maybe the biggest question of all, if it happened once, how do we know it's not happening elsewhere? These are the questions every fan, analyst, and team owner is asking right now. Because if the NFL can't guarantee that its games are 100% secure and fair, the credibility of the entire league is at stake. And let's be honest, the NFL has been walking a tightrope lately. Between officiating controversies, questionable calls, and an increasing reliance on technology, fans are more skeptical than ever. This scandal, whatever it truly turns out to be, just poured gasoline on that fire. Some people are even calling for a complete overhaul of the league's communication systems. Others think this might push the NFL to adopt stricter transparency policies, maybe even allowing third-party audits for in-game technology. It's crazy to think that one canceled game could have such a massive ripple effect, but that's exactly what's happening. At this point, no one knows what the final outcome will be. Maybe the league reinstates the game after further review. Maybe it orders a replay. Or maybe, and this is what some people fear, the investigation reveals something so big that it forces major changes across the league. One thing's for sure, the Dolphins-Jets controversy isn't going away anytime soon. It's already dominating sports talk shows, podcasts, and social media feeds, and everyone wants answers. The only thing we can do now is wait and see how deep this rabbit hole goes. Because here's the truth, the NFL just did something unprecedented, and once that line has been crossed, there's no going back. Whatever irregularities they found, they've set a new precedent. The Dolphins versus Jets game will go down in history not for what happened on the field, but for what happened afterward. The day the NFL admitted something was wrong, something so serious that it erased a piece of its own history. And until the league explains exactly why, the rumors will only grow louder, the speculation wilder, and the trust in the shield just a little bit weaker. That's a wrap for today's dive. If you're loving the content, share it with a fellow Dolphins fan, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a splash. Fins up.